is formed from the ovary and the seeds are formed from the ovules after the fertilization. And where is the ovules present? It is present inside the ovary itself. The ovules are always attached to the placenta, and that placenta will be connected to the cells in the ovary. Why? Because it is the placenta that derives nutrition and sends it to the ovules. Coleoptile is a layer that acts as a shield protecting the plumule, and it also has coleorhiza, which acts as a shield protecting the radicle. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to this session on first PUC Biology. I am Dr. Divya, Biology faculty, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence, Mysore. So in this session, we shall talk about the fruit and the seed, the different parts of the fruit as well as the parts of monocot and dicot seed under chapter 5, that is Morphology of Flowering Plants. So after learning this, we'll move on to learning about some of the MCQs that can be framed under this particular topic. So talking about the fruit. So the fruit, we all know that the fruit is formed from the ovary. So always remember this, fruit is formed from the ovary and the seeds are formed from the ovules after the fertilization. And where is the ovules present? It is present inside the ovary itself. So talking about the parts of a fruit, the fruit is made up of outer skin. So you all have eaten a mango, right? So mango, there is the outer skin, inside is the pulpy fleshy part that is there, and inner to it there is the presence of the seed. So it has a pericarp. So what is this pericarp made up of? So pericarp is made up of the epicarp, which forms the outer skin of the fruit, and then below the skin is present the fleshy edible part, which is called as the mesocarp, and next below the mesocarp is present the endocarp, which forms the inner stony wall that is there. Be it the apple or the mango, any fruit that you take, it is made up of these three layers, which together is called as the pericarp. Next, inner to the pericarp is present the seed. Now, what is there in the seed? Again, this in detail we'll study in the next coming slides. So, the seed, it consists of the embryo, wherein that embryo is where the baby plant develops. So, in detail we'll study later. And then it has the endosperm. So, endosperm is the nutritive part of the seed, and it is called as the reserved food or storage food of part of the seed. Why? Because it provides nutrition to the developing embryo, and it has the seed coat, which forms the outer covering of the seed. So this is about the parts of a general fruit. So you need to remember the fruit is made up of pericarp, which consists of three layers: the epicarp, the mesocarp, and the endocarp. So next, talking about the coconut. So this was about a fleshy fruit, which was the mango, which is commonly called as a drupe. Even coconut, if you can see, it has an outer skin, which is called as the exocarp, the inner one, which is the mesocarp, and the inner one is always, the mesocarp is always fibrous. You know about the husk of the coconut, right? It is fibrous, and therefore it forms the mesocarp. But in the case of mango, the mesocarp was fleshy and juicy, right? And it was edible. But in the case of coconut, the mesocarp is nothing but the husk, which is fibrous, and it is not edible. You cannot eat it. It is the inner part, that is the endocarp. Endocarp is also not edible, which forms the shell of the coconut, that is the endocarp, and the endocarp is also quite hard and stony, which forms the shell of the coconut. Next, the kernel part, which is the endosperm, that is what we all consume. So we can consume the endosperm, which forms the kernel of the coconut. So though I was talking about the parts of a fruit, there is a huge difference between when it comes to mango and when it comes to the coconut. So what was the main difference? Coconut middle layer is also fibrous in the case of coconut, and the inner layer is very hard. It is a shell, and all these parts are also not consumable. We cannot eat it. Only the endosperm is what we can consume in a coconut. But in the case of mango, the outer part, which forms the epicarp, that is also soft, which forms the thin layer. Mesocarp, that is also soft. Both can be consumed. And endocarp, it is the inner stony wall that is there, not possible to consume, and inner to the seed the embryo is there, the endosperm is there, the seed coat is there, all that. The difference between that is it has a fibrous mesocarp, wherein here it has a fleshy mesocarp. So that was one of the main difference. So this was about the parts of the fruit. Next, talking about the seed. So inside the fruit, what is there? The seed is there, which is the one that actually develops into a new plant. So let's look into what the seeds are. So the ovules after fertilization develop into seeds, and I told you ovary develops into a fruit. Now, what is a seed? What it has? A seed is made up of a seed coat and an embryo. These two are the main parts of the seed. And when we look at the embryo of the seed, there is this embryonal axis. So, this is called as the embryonal axis, wherein the upper axis that is there, it will develop into the shoot. And the lower axis that is there, this portion will develop into the root. So, it has an embryonal axis, and therefore it is made up of nothing but it is made up of a radicle. So this part we can call it as the radicle. So this lower part, it's the radicle. So radicle develops into the root, and the plumule, this part is called as the plumule, it develops into the shoot. So what is there in the embryonal axis of the seed? Upper portion, there is the plumule that is present. From the plumule, the shoot will arise, and lower portion, there is radicle that is present, from where the root will arise. So the embryo is made up of radicle and embryonal axis, and also it has two cotyledons. So it has two cotyledons. If it is a dicot, if it is a monocot, it has a single cotyledon. So this is about the seed. So let's study in detail about the structure of a monocot seed and a dicot seed. So structure of dicot seed we'll learn first. So dicot seed, they are dicotyledon. So you can split it into two, wherein this is one cotyledon and this is one more cotyledon. So therefore it has two cotyledons. Now outer layer of the seed, what it has, we shall look into. So outer layer, the entire seed is covered by a seed coat. So in the seed coat, the outer, now the seed coat is again of two layers. The outer layer, outer is called as, so the outer is called as the testa, and inner is called as the tegmen. Overall, it is called as the seed coat. So the entire seed is covered by a seed coat. How many layers are there in the seed coat? It has an outer layer and an inner layer. The outer layer is called as the testa, and the inner layer is called as the tegmen. This is important, you need to remember. Have you noticed something called as the hilum? So I hope all of you have seen the bean seed, right? If not, just take a bean seed and just have a look at it. So you will understand very clearly. Can you see a small scar which is white in color in the bean seed? So why I told bean is because bean is quite visible. You can see it very well there. You can differentiate between the parts very well in bean seed. So that is why I told to look into a bean seed. So that part is nothing but called as the hilum. It is a scar. Now, what is this hilum? I have told you earlier that the ovules are always attached to the placenta, and that placenta will be connected to the cells in the ovary. Why? Because it is the placenta that derives nutrition and sends it to the ovules. Now, those ovules will fertilize. The placenta, it will form a seed, the placenta will fall off, right? Now, where the placenta was attached, just like how we have the belly button, right, to which the umbilical cord or the placenta was attached to the mother. And now when the placenta or umbilical cord fell off, we have a scar which is nothing but the belly button, right? Just like that, the seeds also have a scar which is called as the hilum, to which the placenta was attached. And there is one more thing, a small hole. Even bean seed also, just have a look at it very carefully. One small pinhole you will find. That is nothing but called as the micropyle. Now this micropyle also helps in exchanging of gases in the seed, between the seed when it is in the, that is exchange of gases. For all that, these micropyle will help. So these are the different structures of the outer covering of the seed. That was morphology of the seed. Now inside, when you open a seed, that is when you open a dicot seed, what you find inside we shall look into. So it is made up of two cotyledons, that is why it is a dicot. Now there is an embryo. This is the embryo. This entire thing that you can see is the embryo. Now in this embryo, BRYO. Now in this embryo, there is an embryonal axis that is present, in which the upper part of the embryonic axis is called as the plumule, this upper part, and the lower part that is there, it forms the radicle. The plumule will develop into the shoot and the radicle will develop into the root. And there is something called as endosperm also. What is the function? Some of the seeds may be endospermic, some of the seeds may be non-endospermic. Endospermic seeds means they'll have endosperm in their cotyledon, which again acts as a nutritive tissue that provides nutrition to the developing embryo so that it can properly form the shoot and the root properly. So that is about endospermic. So moving further, let's study the structure of a monocotyledonous seed. So far we studied about the structure of a dicot seed. Now the structure of a monocot seed. So monocot seed, they are endospermic. Almost all the monocot seeds are endospermic. But there is only one monocot seed which is non-endospermic. That is orchid. Orchid flowers, they produce monocot seeds and they do not have an endosperm. They are non-endospermic. So orchid is, remember this is important, non-endospermic. Rest all the monocots, what did I say? They are endospermic. So talking about the monocot, when you see a monocot, what is there? The endosperm is there and they have the embryo as well. So let's study inside of the seed. How does it look? So when I take a section, how does it look? So it has the endosperm, which is the nutritive tissue. So this is the nutritive tissue. What it will do? It will provide nutrition to the developing plumule and the radicle. So that is the function of the endosperm, or it provides nutrition to the embryo so that the radicle and the plumule can develop into the root and the shoot respectively. Now there is something called as the scutellum in the monocot seed. So the entire cotyledon that is there, the cotyledon portion of the monocot seed is called as the scutellum. It is the cotyledon portion. In the cotyledon portion only endosperm is there. Now there is a separation. The endosperm and the cotyledon which bears the embryo, it gets separated by a layer called as the alluron. So this layer, so it's here, it's called as the alluron, this layer. Alluron layer. Now what is this alluron layer? Alluron layer is proteinaceous. It contains lot of protein and it also separates the endosperm from that of the cotyledon region or from that of the embryo, because it is in this portion the embryo is present. And also it has the seed coat and the fruit wall as well, and it has a coleoptile. Coleoptile, that is the covering of the plumule, is called as the coleoptile. Coleoptile is a layer that acts as a shield protecting the plumule, and it also has coleorhiza which acts as a shield protecting the radicle. So this is the typical structure of a monocot seed inside, how it looks. So all these are important. Knowing about the coleoptile, the coleorhiza, all these can come for 1 mark. Now we know about the structure of the dicot seed and the monocot seed, and also we know about the fruit, the layers of the fruit and all that. We shall learn some of the MCQs that can be framed under this particular topic. So dash is true about parthenocarpic fruits. Okay, I didn't tell about parthenocarpic fruits. So we had learned that the ovules get fertilized and they develop into seeds, right? So where are the ovules present? Inside the ovary. Ovary forms the fruit and the ovules will get fertilized and will develop into the seed. But have you heard of something called as seedless fruits, wherein seeds are not formed because fertilization process will not take place, but the ovary part that is there, that will develop into the fruit. Now because the ovules have not undergone fertilization, the ovules will not get converted into seeds. So seedless fruits are nothing but parthenocarpic fruits. Now the question here is dash is true. So we have to find out among the statements that are given here which is true about parthenocarpic fruits. Is it fruit is formed by fertilization? No, I told you fruit fertilization doesn't occur here. So this option is wrong. Next, fruit is formed without fertilization. Yes, here fruit is formed without fertilization because the ovary will develop into the fruit, but the seeds or the ovules will not get fertilized, therefore seeds will not form. So this is true about parthenocarpic fruits. Now seeds are well developed. Here seeds only are not well developed because they do not undergo fertilization. None of the above. That's also wrong. So the right option here is option B, fruit is formed without fertilization. So this is true about parthenocarpic fruits. Next, dash is an example for drupe. Mango, tomato, grapes, capsicum. Tomato, grapes and capsicum, all these three are berries. They are called berry. It is mango that is called a drupe. So mango is an example for a drupe. Next, the wall of the fruit is called. What is the wall of the fruit called? Testa, tegmen, all these are the layers of the seed coat or the layers of the seed. Pericarp, the wall of the fruit is called pericarp. Seed coat, it is about the seed. Next question. Dash fertilized to form seeds. Ovary, no. Ovaries do not undergo fertilization. Ovaries directly form the fruit. Placenta, no. It is a connection between the ovary to that of the ovules. Stigma, no. Stigma just receives the pollen grain. It has nothing to in the development of the seeds. It is the ovule. So ovule, one of the male gamete in the pollen grain will fertilize with the ovule to form the seed. So therefore, ovules fertilize to form the seeds. The right option here is option D. Next one. Dash is a non-endospermic monocot. Is it wheat, rice, maize, orchid? Wheat, rice, maize, all the three are monocots itself, but they are endospermic, meaning they have a nutritive tissue which is the endosperm. Now, orchid is the only non-endospermic monocot, meaning it doesn't have an endosperm. So, the right answer here is option D, orchid. Next one, the protein layer that separates endosperm and embryo is called. So, in monocots, there is a protein layer that separates the endosperm and the embryo, that is called as the aileron, because plumule is the shoot producing region in the embryonal axis. Hilum, it is nothing but the scar that is present in the seed, that white scar that is there in the monocot seed. Next, radicle, it is the lower portion of the embryonal axis from where the root arises. So therefore, the right answer here is the protein layer that separates endosperm and embryo is called as the aileron. Next question. The large cotyledon of monocot is called. In monocot, there is a large cotyledon that is just below the endosperm. They have a large cotyledon. What is it? Is it an endosperm? No. It is a scutellum. So, scutellum is the right answer. It's not the seed coat nor the embryo. It is a scutellum. That cotyledon that is there in monocot is called scutellum. Next question. The sheath covering the radicle is called, or the layer covering the radicle is called coleorhiza. So, the right answer here is coleorhiza. The radicle, coleorhiza. Coleoptile is the shoot or the plumule. The sheath covering the plumule is called coleoptile. So, the question can be framed this way also. The sheath covering the plumule. If it was plumule, the option would be option B, would be the right answer. But the question here I have put here is the sheath covering the radicle is, it's coleorhiza. It's not plumule, it's not aileron. Aileron is the layer that separates the endosperm with that of the embryo. So that is aileron. So plumule, and also they can ask the question which is the proteinaceous layer in the monocot. That is also aileron itself. Here the sheath covering the radicle is called coleorhiza. Next, dash is an endospermic seed. Bean, pea, castor, gram. So here dash is an endospermic seed. So all these are dicots. In this, castor is the only seed that is endospermic. So castor is a endospermic seed. So this was about the session wherein we learnt about the fruit, dicot and the monocot seed, and also got to know some of the MCQs that can be framed under this particular topic for exam point of view. So we shall meet again in the coming session, taking up a new topic and learning about the MCQs under it. So see you in the next session. Thank you.